What's your but wait it gets worse story. I used to work as a bank teller in a really nice neighborhood. We didn't have any bulletproof glass or security because it was in a suburb. One day, I'm looking across the lobby at the glass doors leading to the parking lot when I see a man wearing a mask running towards the building. My heart immediately drops and I start saying, please be a joke, please be a joke, please be a really bad joke. It wasn't. The guy busts in, brandishes a gun and yells everybody freeze. He sticks the gun in my face and tells me to give him the zucking money. But wait, it gets worse. You see, this was my half day, I had just gotten in, and I didn't have any money. I tried to stutter out, you see, I just got here, I don't have my drawer yet, I don't have, but he wasn't listening and was just yelling and agitated. There were two other tellers next to me, and they did have money, so I glance over thinking maybe if they give the guy money he'll be happy and get the gun out of my face. But wait, it gets worse. The other tellers were frozen, shaking, and crying. Can't say I blame them, the only reason I wasn't a mess was because I was too focused on that gun. So they were no help at all. Luckily, they had their keys to their drawer and I thought zuck it. Better give this guy something. So I started pulling cash out of the other teller's drawer and stuffing it in the guy's duffel bag. It worked, he grabbed it and ran out. Everyone was shook up and crying, so the bank had a therapist come in that very afternoon. She comforted everyone and told us that statistically something like that would never happen to us again. But wait, it gets worse. 3 weeks later the same guy came running back into the bank with a gun. Even though he wore a mask, we knew it was the same guy because he yelled, "Let's do it again." This time I had a cash drawer, so things went a lot smoother. But it zucked with my head for a very long time after. They didn't catch the guy until 2 years later. Well, this is pretty tame compared to other responses. I recently went to the ER due to what turned out to be my appendix trying to kill me. By the time I was admitted and settled in a room I was in pretty serious pain, and all I wanted was drugs. Either enough to relieve the pain or just knock me out. Either was okay with me. Well, first they needed to put N4 in. Okay. But my veins are small and wormy, so it takes some skill to get N4 in me. The nurse jabs me 5 times in the right arm and gives up. But wait, it gets worse. Then she proceeds to stick me 5 times in the left arm and gives up again. Says she needs to get someone else to do it. So after about 20 minutes of agony, another nurse shows up and gets N4 in me. And they finally give me bliss drugs. But wait, it gets worse. The next day, after my traitorous appendix is in a jar, I'm in my hospital bed and notice that the 4th is now sticking straight up out of my arm. I think I don't believe that's right. But wait, it gets worse. I get a nurse and point out the offending 4 needle and she says something like, "Wow, that's really swollen." The angle of the needle had distracted me from realizing that my bicep now looked like it belonged to a weightlifter. I was swole. The needle had apparently punctured through the vein and the saline and antibiotics I was supposed to be getting had been going into my bicep muscle for hours. But wait, it doesn't get any worse. They fixed it and all was well. They finally found someone who could properly put N4 into me. And honestly, even with those minor issues I really appreciated how the staff took care of me. They were a great bunch. I've been waiting to share this one. Around 7 years ago, I traveled around the country on Greyhound buses. I was on a 35-plus hour trip from New Orleans to Omaha when this happened. In Arkansas or Oklahoma we picked up a group of guys who had just gotten out of prison. The leader of this group was an older methed up looking dude. He was loud and wouldn't stop cussing. Made everyone real uncomfortable. I'm gonna call him Bird. At some bus stop or another, Bird made friends with a woman we will call Methany. On our drive north, Methany and Bird were getting handsy and cuddly. It was really uncomfortable for everyone. At some point, she suddenly needed to vomit and started running towards the bathroom. She was wearing a strapless dress and it caught under her foot. Boobs went everywhere. I offered her gum on her way back to her seat. Methany got off the bus in Des Moines, my last stop before Omaha. Bird did not. Seeing as Des Moines is about a 2-hour drive and there isn't anything to see, it felt an opportune time to watch James Cameron's Avatar on my laptop. About 30 minutes outside of Omaha, the bus pulled over and I saw police officers walking up along the side. I took off my headphones and started asking what the deal was. Nobody would tell me anything except for one older woman who said there's a pervert on the bus. The cops came for Bird. I believe I pieced together that he had exposed himself to another passenger, but I can't be sure. The only thing I'm sure of is that he had been out of prison less than 24 hours. The inside door handle of my student room broke off, so I had to remember not to shut the door. Went clubbing with a friend, Came home late, forgot, shut the door and went to sleep. Woke up in the morning, realized we couldn't leave the room. All other housemates had gone home for the summer and lived far away. Tried to jimmy the door open with various items, pencil, credit card, no dice. Friend panicking. Called my mom who lived 1 hour away by car. She would come and let us out of the room if I passed her my front door key through the window. Mom stuck in traffic. By the time she arrives we're busting for the loo. I pass the key to her through the window. She unlocks the front door. Security conscious friend, unbeknownst to me, had put the chain latch on. Mom goes to boot of car, and thankfully has a hacksaw to saw through said chain. Friend and I burst out of the room and race each other to the bathroom. At least we got a sympathy lunch out of it. Friend and I burst out of the room and race each other to the bathroom. That's when you each take one side of the toilet. Why didn't you just call student housing? They all have emergency numbers, and if that was somehow not an option, a locksmith. Hoo boy, I have so many. This one's pretty choice though. I was working at my very first job at 17. I was a hostess at a very busy diner. It wasn't unusual to have 7-hour wait times on the weekends, particularly Sundays. We always had 2 or 3 managers on site at a time, all with the same level of authority but very different ideas on what the rules were. So one Saturday I am tasked by a manager with carrying a 50+ pound box of oranges from the back of the restaurant to the front. I was a teenage girl that weighed only 94 pounds myself at the time, and was never taught how to lift heavy objects correctly. It was a massive struggle, but I eventually got the box up front. Where a second manager sees me with the box and gives me a scolding, saying hosts are never supposed to retrieve items from the back and I shouldn't have done that. But wait. It gets worse. I woke up the next morning in agony. My back felt like I'd been hit by a semi. I could barely walk. But I did my best to suck it up and make it to work that day. But wait. It gets worse. After my usual 2-hour commute by bus, I make it to work, take a look at the schedule and realize, huzzah! I don't actually have a shift that day. I go to the manager to tell him I'm going home. He goes, no, stay. We can use you. It's our busser's birthday so he's out today. Go bus tables. So instead of hosting and working the register I hauled around a full bucket of heavy, diner dishes with no idea of when the shift would even end. I bussed for 7 hours straight. My back was screaming. I was in so much pain. But wait. It gets worse. At the end of the night all the hosts were called up to the front. Apparently money had been disappearing from the register, so all hosts that day worked were getting a write-up. They didn't care when I told them that I hadn't touched the register that day, or that I wasn't even supposed to work that day. I still got written up. My back and feet are still zucked up from that job almost a decade later. The $7 an hour was not worth it. Did anyone ever actually wait the 7 hours? I mean, you would have to bring a meal to eat while you wait to sit for your meal at that point. Heard this from a surgeon friend who was doing his internship. Guy comes in complaining of severe stomach pains, sends his wife off to get a coffee and proceeds to tell my friend what the problem was with the understanding he is not allowed to tell the wife. They had just spent a long weekend in, redacted, a coastal town about 3 hours drive away, and as was his way the guy snuck away to see his mistress. And as was her way decided to do some foreign body anal insertions with him. So she managed to get a coffee jar up there. I'm told not just the regular size but one of the big ones you might have for a whole office of coffee drinkers. She can't get it out. He figures nature will take care of it. Goes gets his wife and decides they should drive home early. They drive the 3 hours home, XL coffee jar up his butt. Nature does not take its course. He goes to bed figuring it'll come out in the morning. He then wakes up in the middle of the night suffering from the severe stomach pains which started this story. Wife brings him to hospital. So now my friend knows what the problem is. They call their supervisor who gets up and comes into work. So first they try using suction. No luck. Drill a hole into the jar to break the vacuum. No luck. Industrial strength glue on the end of a probe. Nope. In the end they have to go in surgically. At which point they discover the jar's been blocking blood flow to his sphincter since mid-afternoon and most of the tissue is dead. He now has to use a colostomy bag. Was in a committed relationship with a girl when I found out she had sent someone nudes during the relationship. She seemed genuinely upset so I helped her get therapy and forgave her. Time went on, we were happy. She then got uncomfortably close with my best friend emotionally, despite being unable to share her emotions with me. They were talking late into the night about their feelings and struggles. Once again I was forgiving and talked to my counselor about how I could better support her, and I explained to my friend that he should back off and that I felt hurt. Oh, I forgot to mention. I've been helping him through his depression and assisted him in getting help and meds. He then insinuates that I'm not approaching her right and that I don't know how to support her. Few months later she dumps me out of nowhere, says she wants to travel alone, party and make stupid decisions. Says she doesn't want to feel married anymore. Oh, and my friend, he's chosen her friendship of a few months over my near decade of friendship. He's blocked me on social media and hasn't spoken to me since. Day 9 since that all went down, cried for a week straight. I did everything in my power to be a wonderful boyfriend, I have absolutely no regrets. 2 ungrateful people are out of my life, and while right now I still long for the cuddles, I know there's a wonderful woman waiting for me who can appreciate all I will do for her. I tried to count the red flags about your ex-girlfriend, but there were just too many. Lamau wow bud, got some introspection to do there.